guys, my name is Roxanne Spence and I'm a real estate agent with the Blue Door Realty Group in Dickson, Tennessee. And this is my very first video in a series of videos where I will be sharing all of my knowledge and recommendations that you may find helpful if you're thinking of making a move to beautiful Tennessee. I'm also going to sprinkle in the fun stuff such as my favorite local music venues, fun things to do with the family, recreation. So don't go anywhere and let's get started. So, how do I make moving to Tennessee a reality? Here are my 7 steps to get the ball rolling. So before I jump into things, first I just want to touch on when I refer to Middle Tennessee, essentially you're going to take Nashville as your center point and you can go an hour north, east, south, or west. And that essentially is Middle Tennessee, and that is the area that I cover in my real estate business. So step 1, plan a trip to Tennessee. Now I know that that sounds like a really obvious step, but I will let you know that there are also folks who that just isn't in the cards, whether it be their job or some other circumstance, they cannot plan a trip to Tennessee before they move here. And I'm letting you know now that it can be done. I have worked with many clients who have moved here completely sight unseen. My recommendation is if you can make a trip out here before you move here, making an exploratory trip out to Tennessee is a great way to gauge if Tennessee is a good place for you and your family to land. You'll get to see different cities, different towns, meet the people, get a sense of the weather. It's highly recommended. Step 2 would be to pick an area of Tennessee that you want to focus on, during your trip. So if you have the luxury of having 4 or 5 days to come to Middle Tennessee, I would do it. I would visit west of Nashville, north, east, south, and Nashville itself. If you only have a couple days to spare, I would probably do some research ahead of time, pick out the main cities that you would want to go to and focus on your trip out here. I'm happy to also give you recommendations based off what your family is looking for, what your needs are, and then we can go from there. I would say it's also super important to rent a car when you come out on your trip. You'll be able to drive the back roads, get from point A to B a lot easier. Uber and Lyft are not really available in a lot of places outside of Nashville. They exist, but it may take you a while to get a car. So just keep that in mind, rent a car if you can. Step 3, once you've decided which areas you're gonna be focusing on your trip out here, jump on realtor.com, Redfin, any of those home listing websites. You can also reach out to me for recommendations and for listings, and pick 5 homes that you're going to drive by on your trip out here in the areas that you've selected. That gives you destination points and it gives you a way to explore the neighborhoods and the back roads and give you a well-rounded view of the area that you're deciding to look at. Step 4 is essentially just explore, have fun. You have your list of 5 homes that you're going to be using as destination points in a certain area. So this gives you the opportunity to check out different neighborhoods, just take the back roads, also pay attention to where the highways are, the highway on-ramps. You want to know how long it's going to take you to get to a highway, especially if you're going to be dealing with a commute. I would also pay attention to where are the local grocery stores, if you're in a little small town, do they have a little downtown area, somewhere that you can go on the weekends or places that you can go out to eat. Pay attention to hospitals, pay attention to schools, the location of everything. And that will give you a really good, well-rounded sense of the area that you're looking at. I know from personal experience, there were a couple things that were a little bit of a learning curve in regard to some of those items I just mentioned. So in California, I felt like highway on-ramps were everywhere, and that's just the area that we were, but it's just not something I thought about when we moved here. We knew we wanted to live in an area where we could buy a home that had a little bit more land. But with that, you are probably moving farther away from Nashville or, a bigger city or town. In the first home that we lived in when we moved out here, it took us about 15 minutes to get to the highway. The home that we're at now, it probably only takes us about 5 or 6 minutes. So that increased our quality of life and we didn't realize that that was a must-have when we moved here. Now, if you're not going to be dealing with the commute and you're working from home, obviously not as big of a deal. But one thing that, you know, may be a big deal is also the grocery stores. Again, where we moved from, we were in a really populated area, so we were used to having Safeway was the main grocery store where we were. Out here, the main grocery stores seem to be Publix and Kroger. And depending where you are, if having a home that has a lot of land, you're probably going to be a little bit more of a rural area. It may take you 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes to get to a grocery store. So just make sure that you're mapping all of that out. And also just keep in mind, certain things, certain stores are just not as prevalent out here. So in California, we really loved our Trader Joe's. We really loved a Whole Foods. I have to travel into Nashville for those, which is not really a big deal because we're, you know, pretty close to a highway and I can pretty much get in and out of Nashville pretty easily. But, you know, I have friends that have moved out here and they're in a more rural area and it takes them 45 minutes to get to a Trader Joe's. So, you know, and some of those things are deal breakers for people. Some people like to have their Starbucks, but I will say one of the cool things moving out here is that you may not have a Starbucks on every corner depending on where you land, but you may also have a really awesome local coffee shop that's even better. So step 5, this one is for commuters. If you know that you're going to be commuting into Nashville, you don't want to live in Nashville, you want to live outside of Nashville, the main thing that I would say that's going to really benefit you is find those highways and travel the highway during peak commute times in the morning and in the evening. You will just be setting yourself up for less surprises when you move here. And I will also say that the commute is nowhere near what we had moving from the West Coast. Now, if you're moving from a different state, you know, maybe having an hour commute is way too long. So if you're looking to cut that down, you probably will need to move closer to Nashville. Nashville area is growing. The cities around it are growing at a rapid rate. One of those cities is Clarksville, another one is Franklin, Gallatin. If any of those cities are on your radar, you probably will, and you are going to be commuting, then you probably will want to test out your commute, test out the drive, make sure that it's something you're good with. Step 6, if the area that you are focusing on is kind of flexible, I would say on your trip out here, stay open-minded. Say you had your heart set on moving to Franklin, but you traveled a little bit further out and you found that this area of, I don't know, Columbia, or maybe you kind of peeked over into Mount Juliet, or you went up a little bit north to Dickson. I mean, just keep an open mind if you can. I mean, I think a lot of areas in Middle Tennessee have become really popular, but there are also so many other great towns too to visit and that are growing and are great investment opportunities. So just keep an open mind if you can. And tip number 7, step 7, my final step. Now, this is just a recommendation. If you have the ability to check out Nashville, even if you're not a city person or you're a country music person or anything like that, check out Nashville if you can. It's so much fun. You really get a good sense of the people and community. And with that being said, try to immerse yourself in some of the other cities around Middle Tennessee as well. I think that you will be sold on Tennessee by just meeting the people. That's what sold us. Everyone here was so warm and friendly, and just gave us the biggest welcome, and I think that that will be a huge selling point for you. So to recap, step 1, take a trip to Tennessee. Step 2, pick an area or areas that you want to focus on during your trip here. Step 3, pick at least 5 homes to drive by on your trip to use as destination points. Step 4, explore. Take all the back roads, take that road, take that road, take this road. Find the highways, just explore. Step 5, this is for commuters. Map out your commute time, see what your drive times are gonna be like based on the area that you've decided to explore. Step 6, stay open-minded. The area that you come to visit may be out of your price range, or it may just not jive. You may just not feel like it's a great fit, the lay of the land, location of different amenities. So just stay open-minded. There's so many great cities and towns in Tennessee that maybe the neighboring county has something better to offer you. And tip 7, check out Nashville if you can. It's so much fun. Well, thank you so much for following along and watching this video about planning an exploratory trip to Tennessee. If you have any questions or feedback, please be kind. But if you have any questions or you have any topics that you would like me to cover in the future, I plan on doing a bunch of these videos, hopefully weekly. Please comment below. Feel free to reach out. My name is Roxanne Spence. I'm with the Blue Door Realty Group in Dickson, Tennessee. You can find me on Facebook. If you type in Roxanne Spence Realtor, I should pop up. I'm also on Instagram at roxannespence.realtor. And thank you again, and I will see you guys next time. There is one other funny little tip that I want to add in on your exploratory trip. So let's say that your goal moving to Tennessee is to own more land. Everyone wants more land, at least most of the people I talk to. They're sick of having just a 1/4 acre, or maybe not even that, or having an HOA, and they want to live in an area that's unrestricted and 2 or 3 acres or more. That's all good and fine. I will say the funniest realization that I get from some of my clients, it's just something that they just didn't think about, was you have a lot of grass and you're gonna have to mow it. So if you're not used to mowing grass now and you move to Tennessee and you live on a few acres, you're gonna have to mow some grass. Even 1 acre is kind of a lot. It's like a couple hour thing on the weekends. And some people may love that, but some people, they're just kind of in for a little bit of a wake-up call when they get here. Not a wake-up call, a reality check. You can always invest in a mower and mow yourself. And I'm not talking about just, you know, a push mower. If you have over 1 acre, you're gonna wanna get a ride-on mower. You can also hire a mower, someone who will come weekly and mow your lawn. But it's just one of those tiny little tips that I've just seen people not think of when they move here. They move into their beautiful new house and all this beautiful land, and then they realize, oh, I gotta mow all this grass.